Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy. The more I observe the unfolding drama surrounding Gypsy Rose Blanchard, the more convinced I become that she is on a path to destruction, dragging everyone in her life down with her. This includes her newly acquired mother, Christy, sister, Mia, brother, Dylan, and father, Rod. Even her sister, Nicolette, is at risk if she allows Gypsy into her life. Just look at the destruction she unleashed on her own mother, Claudine DeeDee Blanchard, without a shred of mercy. Gypsy's PR nightmare is getting worse as the true narrative of what really happened emerges more fully. And when times get rough, Gypsy has always rolled out her surviving parent, Rod Blanchard. And Rod appeared on a few live streams last night. And after seeing this, I have one message for him: save yourself and your surviving children and your marriage. I mean it. If not for your own sake, then do it for the kids that didn't unalive their mother. Listen, if you are being honest with yourself, Rod, she is her mother's daughter. And she's like a DeeDee 2.0, a DeeDee on crack and steroids. So you need to be prepared to defend yourself against her relentless pursuit of destruction. She was trained by a very smart, cunning, and mentally unwell woman. And Gypsy is all of these things and more, with the access to much, much more money. And she has stands. She knows your buttons and she pushes them with her sweet promises of, I'm a good girl. And Rod, she isn't a good girl. She wasn't raised like your other kids. Rod, please hear this. She is going to destroy everything and everybody you hold dear. And I'm afraid that's the only promise Gypsy Rose has for you that she will keep. And for this, I'm sorry. I'm truly, truly sorry. If anyone knows me, they know I don't take joy in other people's pain. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And in particular, listen, we're going to delve into the lives of the surviving Blanchards before Gypsy's release from prison. We're gonna watch the Rod interview, but I also like to add things around other things. I like to add like my own content to other. He went on another platform and he did a live, and so I want to add my own content so that I'm not just regurgitating stuff. And so tonight we're going to delve into the lives of the surviving Blanchards before Gypsy's release from prison. I managed to capture glimpses of their social media presence before the nightmare that is Gypsy Rose Blanchard was unleashed upon their lives on a daily, present, psychotic basis. I mean, it's a one thing for her to be behind bars. It's another thing for her to be living in the built-in room in their small but beautiful home. It seems like it's small, which I'm all for small homes. I for one want to own a little home, a tiny house. Theirs is much bigger than I think a tiny house, but it's on the smaller side. So they have yeah, they have Gypsy Rose living in their little home. Now, when I did I used to, when she first was released, and I was a Gypsy Rose stan myself, I didn't know the true narrative. So you're probably going to hear me say some things in this live that I do not say these days. But I went through and I was looking at all of their YouTube and TikTok pages. And it was before all of this started. And I thought it would be fun to go back and see, like, has much changed from like the first part of January to now. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at all of the family. We're going to take a little peek at who is Christy, who is Rod, who is Mia, who is Dylan, and who is Nicolette. We're not going to dive into Nicolette or Dylan too much because they both seem to want to be away from this whole scene. So let's get going. Let me get my screen ready. Hi, PJ Lee. Outlandish History, which I think Outlandish History is Into the Weeds podcasts. Yeah, they're always trying to trick me, I think. Trying to trick me. Oh, Heavenly re-upped her membership. Thank you, honey. The membership over on YouTube is called The Dragonflies. I like to release my videos and other content early. We have a Dragonfly of the Month, and there's also a few other things that we do. We have some emojis and things like that. So thank you, Heavenly, for doing that. Hi, Jeanette Schneider. How are you? Okay. All right. So I think that the PR, all from your heart chakra to yours. Thank you. I'm sending it right back. This Lion's Gate. And I've got my heart chakra open really wide. So I'm sending it right back to you, honey. So every time Gypsy Rose gets into trouble, she unrolls her father. Now this TikTok that he did, it's very hard to hear. So you're going to have to look at the subtitles. You just can't hear it. It's very low. And I know that I can have sound problems, but I promise you this time it's not me and it's not you.
I wanted to address some of the rumors that's going.
So he says everyone wanted to address some of the rumors that's going around
About a big fight at our house.
So he's coming on to talk about there had been rumors that there was a fight and that the police were called and that Christy chased Gypsy into the shed. Rod left and was living at a hotel. And what was the other one? Oh, well, there's a lot of them. That Christy was trying to get the baby. Those were the rumors that I think he was unrolled to dispense. And I just don't think Rod's going to be able to put these fires out. Gypsy has lied to him. She has lied to the public. And the genie just will not go back in the bottle, no matter how hard she tries. It's not going back.
And Christy and Gypsy. Also that I left Christy,
been staying in a hotel for a week.
They've been staying in a hotel for a week. So none of that stuff is true.
So none of this stuff is
I'm home.
true.
I've been home. I've never left Christy.
I've never left Christy. I don't intend to leave her.
I love her. I think she's great.
I think she's great.
She's been supportive of Gypsy
for Gypsy from day one.
throughout. And after Katrina,
she looks like he looked off to the off camera a little bit, though. That is weird.
They were relocated, so we didn't know where.
Relocated, so we didn't know where they were.
Christy spent months.
Yeah, I do remember that Christy spent months online reaching out to people.
Online, reaching out to people, seeing if they knew anything about them, and she finally did find them.
And she finally did find them. So in a lot of cases,
Christy's
done more than I have, which is true.
More than I have regarding Gypsy support and her well-being. So yeah, she's made some mistakes. I have plenty big mistakes. We all have, I believe. Even Gypsy, she's still making mistakes.
She's still making mistakes.
Nobody expects any of this
to be perfect.
We're trying to build a family, and hopefully progress from here. I learned from my mistakes. I want to get that out there.
No, Rod. If you are going to learn from your mistakes, you need to learn that Gypsy is mentally unwell. DeeDee was mentally unwell. And I'm not saying that you need to cut her off forever, but you need to stop co-signing her BS because she's going to pull you all down. Those are my firm beliefs. I see you look aged, and it's only, how long has she been out? Has it been 6 months? Yeah. Well, yeah, it must have been 6 months. And no, it was like 6 months, like July, right around now. This is 6 months, right? Oh.
Gypsy's here now. Her kid's doing fine. I think she's
doing fine. I think she's pretty sure.
Also, about the rumors about her and Ken, just want to throw a joke in there. I don't think Ken would touch.
I don't think Ken would touch Christy with a 10-foot pole.
10-foot pole. Hi, Gypsy.
And then he went in here, and this is Christy in the bed. So, or that's Gypsy in the bed. I don't know.
Clean your room. Love you. Anyway, so yeah, all good at the Blanchard. Good on point. Later.
Guy. Okay, so that was the TikTok that kicked off Rod going into another creator on TikTok's live. And Ivory Rose is the name of the TikTok person. And as always, I will put the links to everything that we watch and view during this live down in the description. I often will talk over things or read over them, or I don't speed them up, stop them. This is for fair play use, and I must do this. I will put everything in the description. Did I say in the description? In the description down below. And I urge you to go and do your own research. And this is all my opinion for educational and entertainment purposes only. So before I begin this, what are you guys thinking? What do you guys think about Rod going into another creator's live? Rod, who seems so private and who just doesn't really want to get involved. Rod just strikes me as someone who just wants to have his crab boil, drink his beer, and just be done with it, right? Just like enjoy his kids that are, I don't want to say normal, but like, wouldn't it be better for all of them if she was just in prison still? I think it would be. She belongs still in prison. And I think that she would still be alive. She would be in prison. And they wouldn't have all of this. They just wouldn't have all of this mess. Christy says, I think Rod was doing damage control. Probably part of the PR strategy. Do you think this has anything to do with Lifetime? Do you think Lifetime told anybody to do this? Pink Cloud 9 Vodcast, anything and everything. I love that name. Jeanette says, I feel bad for Rod. Yeah. So I still feel bad for Rod. Maybe he hasn't said enough yet. Yeah, he was a deadbeat dad to a certain extent, but he was a dad at 17. That's not an excuse, but it is what it is, and is what it was back then. I think he has a huge amount of guilt for that, and so I don't think he's likely to jump ship anytime soon because of the fact that he has this huge amount of guilt. But I think he needs to have definite boundaries put in place for the way they handle Gypsy. She needs to be in some type of therapy, for one, which therapy, not that you're learning how to use the big words kind of therapy where you're doing the work therapy. Because it's almost scary to think that if Gypsy did go into therapy, a lot of times, if it's a narcissist that's truly like more sociopath, they don't go in, they don't learn because they're not going to change themselves because they don't think there's anything wrong with themselves. So they just learn the lingo. And then they're an educated, dangerous person. But you at least got to try. You got to try to do the right things to save your family. Okay, so let's go in and watch this. This is the part where Gypsy, Fancy Maselli, who Fancy Maselli is, for those that may not remember, she's from the Good Wives Network. She did a interview with Tasha K. She's been very vocal about Gypsy Rose. She's been working on the case since Gypsy Rose has been in prison. So it's been a while, like 7 years, 8 years. I don't know. It's been a while. She's very knowledgeable on the Gypsy Rose case. And I think everybody should go to the Good Wives Network and check it out. She can go off on what I find to be offensive tangents. But, you know, what's offensive to me might not be offensive to you. I definitely think that you should check it out. For the most concise place to get the whole Gypsy Rose story, I say to always go over to, you know I'm going to say it, Becca Scoops. Becca Scoops. I'll put her link down below for you. She has a great channel, and I think she only has like 5 videos. And they're very good. They're ones that I've watched over and over again. I credit Becca Scoops with opening my eyes to all of this. I mean, I think we should Rod, go to Becca Scoops right now. I want you to listen to this first, and then I want you to click on the link and go over to Becca Scoops. She's not a psychic. She's not even a psychologist. She is a nurse. I think she was an ICU nurse or something, and her partner is a detective, which, I mean, and she's in with a lot of the police. So if you wanted the behind the story, and if you wanted to interview with somebody besides me, who I think I would be an excellent interview, but somebody who would be even better, and that's hard to even say, but one day I will be there, I would say it would be Becca Scoops. If you want to go on anybody's live or anybody's whatever, I would say go to Becca Scoops, but Becca Scoops going to hold your feet to the fire, but she would be definitely enlightening, and it just would be good. But this is Ivory Rose, and this is when Rod is on here. She had been talking to him for a little while, and Fancy from the Good Wives Network decided to hop on. She makes a lot of good points. Yeah, here we go.
Okay. Think about
exactly, that. Rod, but I don't think it was a relationship with Dan. No police ever brought your daughter back. The only time
I meant to put the volume up, and I completely whatever.
How much
possibly?
How much abuse does somebody have to take to think about killing their own mother? Okay, think about
exactly,
that.
Rod. But I don't think it was abuse. Could it be another reason? Could there be another reason for her wanting to unalive her mother?
I can't get a word in with you, Fancy. I can't. You gonna let me talk, please?
I'm sorry. Yes, I will. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Rod.
So, like I said, nobody can convince me that she wasn't abused. Put myself in Gypsy's shoes.
Okay.
Yes, even though Fancy said that my channel was nothing but speculation, and that Toddy One Skip was slumming it by coming onto my channel. Yes, I do recommend that you go over to Fancy's channel because there's a lot of good stuff there. And she does a really good job of not losing it, because sometimes when people disagree with her, she will like block you and just go off. She can sometimes not do well with panels where she can see chat, but she does a really good job here.
Think about killing your own mother, trying it before, running away, getting caught, brought back, chained up, so controlled. You can call it medical abuse, malingering, whatever you want to call it. That's just semantics. But to think that you're going to kill your own mother to get away from
Rod, may I ask you a question about what you just said? Do you have any proof whatsoever that Gypsy was ever chained to a bed anywhere other than her saying it?
I do not. But you want to believe you? Okay. And
Rod, without evidence, there's no way for you to prove that, and there's no way for me to prove it did not happen. So the only thing I can tell you is that, again, medical child abuse did not occur. So then if you want to just look at abuse, that's fine. However, most abuse victims do not unalive their mothers. And I do not believe that was the motivation for your daughter to unalive DeeDee. I believe there is evidence that shows a different motive. And she was already gone. She had walked out. She was 23 years old. And Rod, she did know how old she was. It's very clear that she knew how old she was based on several things in the police reports. She also was told the officers that she was thrown out 2 days before. So what possible reason, Rod, would she have to go back and unalive her mother? Her mom told her, go to Wisconsin with the boy. At least you'll be happy. She told the detectives that. Why didn't she just do that?
I think she was scared of shit of her mom. She thought that was the only way out.
I think her mother was scared shitless of her.
It was a bad decision. She knows that.
I think in the end that DeeDee was scared shitless of Gypsy Rose. I mean, Gypsy tried to shoot her with a BB gun. She said, "Don't kill me tonight, sweetie." The night, she like painted her nails. Gypsy was painting her nails, braiding her hair. Just kidding. She didn't braid her hair. But she said, "Gypsy, don't unalive me tonight." Ugh. Katie Joy scares me, and I don't like to say too much about her because I seriously don't want to deal with Katie Joy's. Katie Joy doesn't come after you; she sends like unhinged people after you, and I think that she probably knows a lot about the case because she was behind the scenes, but why was she defending Gypsy Rose when all the evidence was there? I don't know. I don't like to say a whole lot about her. And for one, I had Katie from Down the Rabbit Hole at Bedtime on my channel, and she went after her, and I respect. There's two Katie's I'm about to, so there's Katie Joy, and then there's the other Katie down the rabbit hole at bedtime, and she went after the Katie Joy did, and I really respect Katie from down the rabbit hole at bedtime. I respect her a great deal, and she's a nurse herself, and Katie went after, like, questioned her nursing license, and Katie's such a, like, she's a nurse. She was a nurse in other countries, and she's a pediatric nurse. Like, I just don't understand going after other creators. I'm not down for that.
She went to court. All the evidence.
And just because this is all going on, I'm not going to braid Katie Joy's hair and just to get the story. I can't do that. Just like I'm not going to sit on here and talk about Ken's sexuality anymore, because it just is getting too much. You're not going to get that from me. And we all need to make our choices on the content that we bring you and the content that we consume. And like I said, if you're going to consume it, but don't go to Gypsy Rose's page. Consume it from your favorite content creator so that they get the money. Gypsy Rose doesn't need any more money. She just doesn't.
That you have is
right. It's not a bad decision. A bad decision is deciding to buy, a bad decision is smoking pot and getting caught for it. That's a bad decision. A bad decision is not unaliving your mother when you had every ability to walk out. You knew that you could prove that you were 23 years old. The abuse the abuse that you guys are alleging, the medical child abuse, had all but stopped in 2011 by her records anyway, if that's to be believed.
So that is true, that it had all stopped by 2011. And also, I'm also not one of those channels that if I find you are going over to other channels that don't like me, or that I'm not that person where if they don't like me, you can't like them. And, and if you can be friends with whoever you want and you can watch whoever you want, right? I'm not one of those people. I'm just not. So I want you guys to get all the information you can from as many sources as you can to get the full story about Gypsy Rose so that you understand and carry the message. Because I think the true narrative needs to be out there. And then what people do with it after that, then, that's their choice, right?
So she had no reason, Raj. All she had to do was leave or call you. I don't believe any amount of abuse warrants what she did, nor do I believe it is the motivation, Rod. I'm sorry.
Well, so you're trying to prove a motive when this...
I'm sorry, repeat. I can't hear you. Repeat. I'm trying to prove what?
Her motive? That's what you're trying to prove. When she's got her sentence.
Motive.
All the evidence that you have, Fancy, all those medical records, they had all of this stuff.
Your wife lied about having him too, Rod. Did you know that?
She was offered a plea deal. She took the plea deal.
Yeah, when did she take that? Okay, let me ask you a question, Ron. First of all, I want to ask two questions. At what point in time did you start working with HBO? And at what point in time did Gypsy take her plea deal, please?
We started working with HBO before the plea deal, and then she took the plea deal when the show came out.
Okay, so when did they provide you with the USB drive that you handed to Mike Stanfield to use in her defense for her plea deal? When did that happen? Because I have a letter stating that HBO and Aaron Lee Carr gave you this and gave you a copy for Mike Stanfield to go ahead and get that plea deal. So when did that happen?
I don't know what went on between HBO and Mike Stanfield. Mike Stanfield was the...
So she's making a good point here about how the plea deal didn't happen until the HBO documentary. And I think in my opinion, Paradise Lost. Did anyone see that? That's the West Memphis 3 documentary. I think that HBO was the one that helped the West Memphis 3 in the ultimate end. I mean, I think, thank God that HBO was there filming back in the 90s that case, because ultimately they helped their case and they helped them get that Alford plea deal. And I think they helped Gypsy Rose get this deal because the prosecutor knew and he wanted to be the good guy, and the wasn't it Mommy, Dead, and Dearest?
No, you do know, because that letter was addressed to both you and Christy, telling you that they concluded a USB drive to give to Mike Stanfield. It is in the letter I have from HBO. It's your letter to you and Christy.
So what's the point? It's evidence. Whoever
The point is that HBO and Gypsy, Christy, and not you. I'm sorry, not you. Let me explain. The deal is that HBO, Mike Stanfield, Christy, and Gypsy sold a false narrative to the public before she took her plea deal, before Nick went to trial, so that she could get that plea deal, and she didn't have to go to trial and face the same penalties that Nicholas did. Because I believe that if a jury had seen all the evidence that I have, they would have convicted your daughter on life, just like they did Nicholas. And when they did that, they released Mommy, Dead, and Dearest before he went to trial to bias the jury. I'm sorry. You've been had by your own family, sir. I don't have a beef with you, Rod. I never have. I think that you were a father at 17 who was, picked a woman who was overbearing and bossy and mean sometimes. And she tried to manipulate you, and you saw that and you ran away. I get that. No fault in that. But I do believe that I
think it was more than that. And I think he had a hard time getting away from DeeDee. Like that one photo, have you guys seen that one? I think everybody's seen this photo where DeeDee has her, like, looks like her fingers are playing with her ears. I mean, no woman plays with a man's ears and isn't, you know. Oh, thank you, Heavenly. Heavenly just bought 2 memberships. Woohoo! That is so kind of you, Heavenly. Thank you, honey. I love you. Heavenly is one of my mods. My other mod is Chris C. And I just think I have the best mods out there. I have never had one person complain about my mods. In fact, I get a lot of compliments about my mods. So thank you. And hold on one second, you guys. Thank you. And welcome to the Dragonfly Club.
Have a pattern of dating and being with manipulative women, and you allow them to do this to you and control you in this manner, and you may not even notice. What I'm telling you, sir, is I have the records, the evidence to back up the claims I'm making, and perhaps you might want to listen to me to understand better this case, because clearly, sir, you're admitting you don't know. Your wife might know, but I don't think you know all the ins and outs.
I don't need to know all the ins and outs. This is a bunch of drama.
Well, you do, Rod, because what you're saying is false.
Just knowing the fact that I've seen my daughter walk for the first time in that courtroom and was able to.
Is that true, Rod? Because you're okay. Wait a minute, Rod. Okay, so you said the first time you saw your daughter walk was in that courtroom, correct?
Yes.
When was the last time you had ever seen her walk?
Oh, she was probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old.
So you're telling me from 3 years old on, you never saw your daughter walk?
You're wonderful, Giselle. Stop it.
Not that I recall. Once she was in the wheelchair.
Okay, so the motorcycle. That's a good point. When did the wheelchair show up, Rod?
I don't know. It was after.
Was she 7, 8, or was she 3 or 4?
After the motorcycle accident.
That is actually a really good point. And Jeanette says, I feel like he was breadcrumbing her as he was never tested for the deletion. And I feel like he was hypersexual, smexual. And yeah, and that's a part of the chromosome deletion, that microcephaly is hypersexuality. And we know that Gypsy has that. She's a horn dog for sure. She's into some stuff. We know it. So I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Did it happen after? So it happened after the motorcycle accident. Then what you just said was inaccurate, sir, because the motorcycle accident didn't happen until she was 7 or 8 years old, which means that the entire, up to the point from 3 to 4 to 7 to 8, she was walking. All right. So you saw her walking at 8, then the wheelchair shows up, and then you don't see her walking again until you were in court, which is why your wife specifically said that we knew she could walk. But what Gypsy said in her testimony was, I always knew I could walk, and I always knew I was not sick. So if she testified to that, that is her admission to all of that. And if she is now saying that that's not true, then Rod, she committed perjury.
She's been living in the land of denial for a long time. A, wouldn't you say? And great call on that, Maria. I think that Rod needs to wake up, and he needs to wake up soon, because if he doesn't, she's going to destroy his family. She is. She will.
I don't think she's saying that's not true.
How do you not think she's saying that's not true?
I don't know.
I know. Rod, look, I could debate with you all day, and I will run you in circles because I have all the evidence and I've done all the job, I've done all the work, and I am highly, highly educated in this and highly intelligent. I'm not trying to say
these kind of remarks, they don't need to be said. They don't need to be said. You don't need to tell somebody that you're highly intelligent.
To talk down to you. I just think you're misinformed, and I think you've been misled by the women in your life. If you want to know really what happened, I will be happy to provide you with anything you want to look at, to understand. You don't have to talk to me. I have other people that I can pass this through to you. But if you're really interested in knowing why your daughter did this to protect your grandchild and your other family members, you really need to be more informed, sir. And I just would like to help you, Rod. I always wanted to help you. All I ever wanted to do was tell the truth.
Fancy, I am informed. I live this. Since Gypsy was born, I lived this.
But you said you didn't live this, Rod. You said that she was far away. You said that you never went to her doctor's appointments. You said you never saw her. However, we have quite a few pictures where I'm pretty sure you had a relationship with her for quite a long time.
I did. When she was younger, after they started moving away towards New Orleans and everything, I didn't see her at all for many years. But I remember her being.
And why is that, Rod? Why did you never go for visitation, Rod?
And I was busy working life. You know, we tried to make a trip when she was maybe 17, 18.
So you willfully did not participate in your daughter's life because you were working, and I get that. But sir, then you can't sit here and tell me that you lived it, because you didn't. You were offshore, and you have no idea what DeeDee, nor Christy, nor Gypsy, nor any of the other.
I agree. I disagree right there. He did live it. Fancy has all this stuff on paper, and she thinks she lived it just by looking at paper. But life is different. Like, your life doesn't read the exact same as it does on paper. It just doesn't. Just like Fancy's life is different than what it reads on paper. What she went through and experienced is different than what's on paper.
Their family members were doing back home. You yourself have admitted that you never ever went to a doctor's appointment, not one time. You never questioned her. You never took her to court for anything except for the one time where you disputed some of the medical charges. I think she told you the truth, Rod, and I think you believe that because it was the truth. And I think now they are changing the narrative because it doesn't fit.
Fancy. She thought about killing her mama to get away from her. That's
but
all.
Why, Rod? Why? She started thinking about killing her mother all the way back to 2011, sir, when she shot her with a BB gun 10 times.
Yeah, because she wanted to get away from her, man.
For what reason, Rod? Why didn't she just leave? She was in 2011. She was over the age of 18. Why didn't she call you? Why didn't she just leave, Rod? She knew.
I don't know. I can't. She was probably scared shitless to get caught again, Fancy.
Rod, no, the cops never brought her home. Do you understand that? The cops have never been called to bring her home. She willfully walked out of Dan's roommate's house and went home with your wife because or with your ex-wife, because your ex-wife told her that she wanted the drug.
Gypsy has told her dad a story, and her dad has believed the story because he believes that Gypsy is a victim. And I believe Gypsy is a victim of abuse. I don't think she's a victim of the abuse that she wants us to think she's a victim of. She's not a victim of abuse that's so horrible that you would say, oh my gosh, DeeDee needs to go. Like, you can't just walk away. You need to unalive her to make it end. No, But Rod and the rest of the family has bought it. I feel like I get this kind of feeling that maybe Dylan and Nicolette, they're like, eh. And I think it's been said somewhere, like in Reddit, or we're going to come across some, I don't know if I saved it. I hope I did. But Mia has said that she's afraid to be alone with Gypsy. So let's just see.
that she stole, the money that she stole, and she told her if she returned home with her, she would go ahead and allow her to have the relationship with Dan. No police ever brought your daughter back. The only time that the police were ever involved was in 2009 when a nurse that worked for Dr. Steele supposedly called in a welfare check. 2 officers and 2 CPS workers went out to the home. They spoke to Gypsy. They saw an ID that proved that Gypsy was over the age of 18. DeeDee provided them with medical records that showed that she did have some of the developmental delays.
He still doesn't know that she wasn't chained. And he still doesn't know that Gypsy, he probably still doesn't know that Gypsy was the person that instigated the BDSM type of relationships. And yeah, I think that, I mean, I give, in the Chris Watts case, I give the Watts leniency because that's their child, and this is his child. And I think parents want to believe their children, and Gypsy was trained by a master and she knows her dad's buttons. And I think she can just use that little higher, you know, how she goes slightly higher pitched voice and like, I'm a good girl, just like she did in the interrogation. Oh, I'm a good girl. Like, oh, shut up. You're not a good girl. And that's where I think she was abused. She never had a chance to be one because of her mother. And people try to say that DeeDee was like a wonderful person. And I'm sure there were some aspects of her that were wonderful. She seemed like she was great with kids. Like she seemed like kid, like if being a kid and being around DeeDee seems like it would have been a barrel of fun. Except if you're Gypsy having to sit in a wheelchair. But even then, you know, it seems like she made games out of everything. So yeah, she probably did have some good stuff, but she was this master thief. She defrauded Make-A-Wish and all these other Make-A-Wish, Habitat for Humanity, countless organizations. If they needed money, she would just put a thing out, and she had all these supporters, kind of like what Gypsy has. If she feels like she needs money, she just puts a little baby registry out. She feels like, you know, she needs a little whatever, a purse, she just goes live. Like she's on a much bigger scale now. If the Blanchards were smart, they would just go off social media. Maybe not Mia, because Mia was on there before and it was her thing. But the rest of them just go away for a while. Go away and make her go away too, Gypsy. And people say, Gypsy says, well, I should be able to go on social media. Yeah, you should if you didn't unalive your mother, but you have different circumstances. You're playing by a different set of rules than other people. And Rod, if you want to save your family, you would leave social media. But I've been saying this for a while.
And the actual physical ailments that she had, Gypsy told them that nothing was wrong, and Gypsy did not leave. They gave her the opportunity to leave that day, and she did not. She could have walked out of there with the police that day, and she chose to stay because she wanted to continue.
I had that thought the other day because I heard there were like little kids things, and someone called it a pedo room or something. Gail says, I think that her storage shed was looking like a webcam little girl playhouse, the baby voice and webcam costumes, wigs, and makeup. I think something more was going on. I have heard that Gypsy made her money, and this is all allegedly made her money. A lot of her money is selling her mom's prescription. It's a lot how she got a lot of the money for a lot of the stuff that she purchased for Nick. So
continue in the con, Rod. I'm sorry. The only time she decided it was no longer suiting to her and decided to unalive her mother is when her mom told her she could not be with boys. Men, lots of them, Rod, lots of them. We have
never
proof of this.
The cops didn't get her or nothing. You know, DeeDee got her back home, and she was scared.
No,
that was her way.
She didn't have to go home with her, Rod. Why wouldn't she have just? Why didn't she call the police that day? They would have come out and verified her ID.
I don't know. I can't answer that. That's a Gypsy question.
Exactly. You can't answer that. That's the problem. She had every opportunity to leave and she did not. So I do not believe that abuse is the motivating factor for the reason that she killed your wife. I believe that your ex-wife, there is many, many other reasons that we believe is a motivation for this, sir.
Well,
and I can show them to you. The investigators did not continue to investigate after your daughter took a plea deal. They were instructed by Dan Patterson to stop investigating. They already had a confession from her co-defendant. They did none of the investigating. And the officers in the case said that they were investigating a long financial fraud. And they were very upset that they did not get to take this to trial because they believed they had evidence to prove why this was done. And it had nothing to do with abuse. You and HBO, your wife, Gypsy, all changed that narrative, and you have lied to the public for 9 years. Not you specifically, I don't think, but your wife and your child have. Your daughter Mia even is calling her out in front of her. Can you not see the writing on the wall, Rod? She's a very disturbed girl, and she needs help. You're denying that she has medical conditions. You're denying that it has anything to do, that she has any medical conditions related to the chromosome disorder. And do you understand, for the health of your grandchild, that is rather dangerous.
I don't think Gypsy has any medical conditions.
Rod, she has medical conditions. She's taking medications. She has conditions from this, Rod. They're proven in her medical records. What are you talking about?
There's the denial on the microcephaly. It's not having microcephaly run in your family. The things I have heard people say about people with microcephaly, it's just jaw-dropping. And I have heard women come on and say, like, not in my comments, they have said, like, I had a child with microcephaly, something about she changed the cat litter, and people say it's because of they're saying that her child's inbred. Or I had microcephaly, I was pregnant, I had a fever, a high fever, and my child was born with microcephaly, and people say it's because my child's inbred. And it's not always inbreeding. It's not always. And so I think, and that's like back in the day, they used to put them in freak shows, people with microcephaly. They call them pinheads. It's horror. Or somebody else said that she has microcephaly, and they call it, it's something water on the brain. So they call her a wet head or something. It just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. So I can see why Rod wouldn't want that to be out there. But Rod, if you ever see this, just please know that it's not the only reason. It's not. There are other reasons for a child to have microcephaly. But it does run in your family, and Gypsy has it. And you can tell Mia has it. And Gypsy, there's texts out there that Katie Joy released saying that Gypsy feels guilty about bringing a child into this world because she has microcephaly, and she didn't know she could pass it on to her child. As if I believe that.
Got a full checkup.
Rod, can I ask you a question? Can you please go to Rare Chromo? Please go to rarechromo.org. Type in the microdeletion of the 1Q21.1 that she has, and look at the 11 or 12 page document that they have. If you do so, it lists every single one of Gypsy's conditions throughout her life as being part of this type of disorder, sir. And it has varying levels of degrees of severity, from no symptoms whatsoever, all the way up to a baby being born with severe microcephaly that cannot last outside of the womb for more than a few days. There are serious ramifications. And if you have not done genetic counseling, sir, you're not protecting your grandchildren. You're not protecting Mia's grandchildren. You're not protecting any of Dylan's children. And you're not protecting Nicolette's children. And you're not protecting Gypsy's children, because you're choosing to be willfully ignorant. Just go get the counseling done, sir. I'm trying to save your grandchild's life.
Oh, God, Fancy, thank you so much.
Well, you can be a shithead about it, or you can actually go do the genetic counseling that was recommended to you several times. Your daughter even made a post that she feels that maybe she's a bad mom at this point right now because she didn't realize that it could be passed down. Well, you know who did know that it could be passed down? Your wife, because I told her that in 2019, and so did Titania.
Gypsy has a doctor that she's seeing about her baby.
What kind of doctor?
That,
No,
Maybe
is it
not.
a general
I feel like
practice?
this is
Walker, or
getting
it special ed?
extremely abusive, this conversation. I think it's getting out of hand.
We need to,
And it's being, I think this is, it's
Just
an
sit here
attack.
and go through her. Yeah, we don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
The tone of voice could have come down, but Rod's standing up and he's taking it. And I can take, like, I respect people. It sounds to me like he is learning. He's like learning things that he didn't know. I'm sure he's going to still believe the BS and all this stuff, but I think it's the seeds are being planted. I hope.
If you guys want to have, if Rod and Fancy, if you guys want to have that conversation, I just feel like it's getting a little hot and you know what I mean? And I feel like without anything in front of Rod, we can't expect him to answer. You can't expect him to know or remember on the spot or so.
Sure. I agree with that. I agree.
It looks unfair to Rod, and so I'm going to call that.
Well, that's why I've repeatedly asked him to speak to me privately.
Right. If you guys want to have a private conversation, absolutely. I just
Thank you for allowing me to speak with you, Rod.
Prepared for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Rod, I'm serious. If you would like some information, please reach out to me. I will give you anything you need. I am not an enemy of you. I am not an enemy of your family. I simply want to tell the truthful story, sir. So if you would like to speak to me further, please, Rod. Christy has my phone number. You can call me. I've asked her to call me several times through Jasmine, and she did not, because I wanted to tell you this before I found out she was pregnant, because I got confirmation this year. Okay, I would like to have a further conversation with you, and I do agree that doing this without him being able to prepare himself is not okay. But I wanted to very much put into your head things to think about.
Fancy, I think we can have a conversation till you blue.
What'd you say?
I think we can have a conversation till you blue in the face. You're not going to change my belief, his motive.
Well, that's fine, Rod, but can you please agree to tell your wife?
I also think that Rod is never going to go against Christy, and it might take Christy being done with Gypsy for him to wash his hands of it, because I don't think Christy's done yet. Christy, I do think Christy and Rod, they both want the, oh gosh, this is exactly why she got pregnant, so that her BS, they would co-sign with any of all of her lies.
Wife and your child to stop harassing, stalking, and cyberbullying me, because what I have, I am bringing with facts and evidence.
Guys, I'm going to call. Yeah, I'm going to call.
Thank you.
Thank
All right, I'll step down.
If you don't mind, hi Rod, my name is Jennifer. I just wanted to, I feel like earlier when Francie was explaining to you the Munchausens by proxy and them lingering, that maybe it wasn't explained to you what she was trying to say. When Munchausen by proxy, there's always a win in it for the abuser. You know, they make the person sick and then they get them better, and there's kind of this heroic thing that goes along with it. And I think what she was trying to get you to understand is that's not what wasn't DeeDee's pattern. You know, to get Gypsy sick and then to get her better and be the hero and, you know, always running to the rescue. And I think that's where that, you know, the gray area is that we don't see here, that the malingering, that there was so much, and especially when Gypsy was older, that we feel like she was playing into a part to keep that going for financial gain, because, you know, the sicker she was, the more rewards came with it. So, you know, and there was a point where she did know that she could walk, her muscle tone, everything else, you know, it shows us that she was walking more than she was in a wheelchair. She was able to get up and leave anytime she wanted. She was able to probably walking around the house all the time because the wheelchair was not accessible with all the garbage and junk everywhere. That wheelchair was not being used inside. So I think that's where a lot of the doubt and question comes in. And Ivory's a nurse as well as I am. And you know, we haven't looked over everything 100%. We're very new to this chromosome deletion. But we have looked at a lot of other things. I think that's where the public gets that there's so much confusion with this, is we really do feel like it was a more malingering. And that's when, you know, two people are working together for the same goal.
This is the perfect tone of voice to have when you're trying to have a conversation and you're trying to explain things and you're not talking above and up. You're just kind of talking at the same level with kind of like a curious kind of voice. Like, I know that you're like curious about this and you want to know what I have to say. And you probably didn't know about this, you know, just like a normal voice.
Because there's a goal at the end of it. You know, there's a win, there's a prize. And it seemed like that's what was happening.
And I think right now the public, with her continuing to financial gain off this whole crime, is, again, where the public is pissed off.
Yeah.
You know, you were all making money off of such a horrific, horrible thing that was, again, we feel like that whole story was a scam. Okay? And the fact that she's still doing it doesn't, you got to say, admit it though, Rod, it doesn't look good. No. It looks crappy. I mean, at least be honest, though. It looks like she's still trying to gain off of all of this.
Right.
I get it. I get that. I mean,
You know,
I don't think anybody.
that's where he totally gets it, and he's understood it from day one, and hasn't wanted her to do that. And I think he suspected, or if not flat out knew, that DeeDee did it all the time. Yeah. Jeez.
Could be making money or
off of a horrific thing. And I think that's where the public comes in and goes, you know, if it was a scam, all right, so I'm not even going to tell you if it was a scam, and there was obviously, even if she did have Munchausen's by proxy, and I don't think she did, but even if she did, there was still a scamming on Gypsy's part either way. She knew a lot more.
At what age do you think a person that has been abused in the ways of being taught how to scam, at what age do you think they should be held responsible for the scam if they join in on the scam? What age? Or even let's say the crime. We'll put it at any crime. If there are crimes being had and the child is raised in the ways of the crime, is it 18? Is it 17? Is it 20? I think the brain formed at 23 or 24? I always forget which one it is. That age? I don't know. I don't know.
And she admitted to knowing a lot more. So then here you are scamming people for profit, and then you come out of prison where people feel you didn't serve enough time for your crime, and rightfully so. And then you come out and then you're getting all this financial gain for being noted and being quote unquote famous as exactly that. And so the people are pissed off, like you're dancing around here and getting loaded off the fact that you did something horrible. And then honestly, it's practically getting away with it scot-free, because 8.5 years compared to the life plus 25 that the other person got. Do you see where the public feels like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't look at it like it was just 8.5 years. I look at it like it was 33 years. You know,
okay.
So I think.
That's how you see it, but not for the crime.
So if you see 8 years as 33 years, can you imagine what his Nick go to John's family, but I don't sees as life? But I still think they think Nick. I think he thinks for 100% think he thinks that Nick is still the big bad wolf. That hasn't even been unloaded on him, that the autism and explaining that Nick's mental health issues and neurological issues.
For the crime, it was 8.5 years she served for the crime.
That's right.
Now, not her victimization, but the crime. And then you have to understand, wasn't Nick also a victim of her? She manipulated him, Rod, 2 years. So it's not like DeeDee was doing this and then she just snapped one day. She took in another person and plotted and planned it and groomed him to do it. So do you understand why the people, the public, are sitting there looking at you all like it's disgusting? You're all profiting off of one guy's in prison because he was manipulated for 2 years. And then she murdered somebody and sat for 8.5 years and then is out trying to act like I'm this great person, influencing the young all over social media. Do you see where the public's concerned? Still making the money.
And you know, Rod, how can you even say that there wasn't any acting in this? I mean, we have a video of her at Disney, you know, eating royal mashed potatoes. And literally 6 days later, she's on a video with Nick dressed up like Ruby, you know, talking about God knows what. You know, she was able to go from sick gypsy to not sick gypsy within hours. So that she absolutely was putting on an act for, you know, the public and somebody else behind closed doors. That's concerning when you can be those two completely separate people within hours of the other one. You know, in 1 minute she's in a wheelchair and she's a Disney princess eating mashed potatoes, and that night she's got her tatas hanging out with a red wig on talking about she's Ruby. And you know, I mean, you can't see that how the public's.
Okay, so we will put the link for that down in the description so you can go ahead and go watch it. What do you guys think about it, though? Do you think that's like the worst thing that you've ever saw? The best thing that you've seen? I mean, August is going to be a month of shocking stuff in the Gypsy Rose case. It's just going to be one thing after another. It's not going to stop. And I think she needed her dad to do a little PR. And I think his eyes and ears have been at least opened up a little bit more.
I shall hang from the trees by the feet of a crow.